What's going on, guys? This is Kenny Howell. Welcome back to the channel. I'm out here in the shop and doing a little test. I've got a couple of customer pours for some epoxy signs coming up. So I wanted to make sure that I was going to get these colors right. So we're going to do a little experiment. So what you can see here that I've carved out, here is a essentially, I wanted to make this where I had some fluid edges, some sharp edges, and some sharp outside corner and inside corner edges to try and make sure that we're going to get this epoxy pours right. So by doing this way we can tell and make sure that the surface retention on all around will come out correctly. So with this was a simple SketchUp that I did in Carbide Create. If you like, I can send you the file. It's really nothing spectacular. It's a little tricky getting this little, I guess, horn type radius, if you want to say. But I believe this is gonna really help us as far as the way I'm going to do it, as far as priming, underlaying color, and everything, just to make sure that we get the right color that we want for our customer, which is key. Customer satisfaction, number one. All right. So by doing this, I went the depth that I would go in the test piece to make sure that it's going to be right. And from there on, we can work with it and tweak a few things if we need to. Also, guys, one thing that I'm super happy and excited for, finally bit the bullet and downloaded Carveco Maker. Everything that I've seen, I feel like this is really going to help production. It's going to give me more freedom, and really, I think it's going to be more user friendly, as it's going to go more along with my SolidWorks that I use every day. So let's see what this is all about, also. All right, so right here, this is 3 coats. This Zinser Bullseye Primer. It's really good for MDF. So what we're going to do next is tape up these two and these two. Then we're going to spray down some satin white. And then we're going to tape up these two and these two. And then we're going to add different colors that for our base. That way we got our 3 different options to color everything. Alright, we sprayed 2 coats of this Rust-Oleum Satin Blossom White. Kind of makes all the Pinterest ladies go crazy. Wife's going to be offended by that one, but it'll be okay. Let's add some color for the base on these and get to it. Alright, so it looks like a little bit of a change of a plan. So I tried to flood color this one. It's not working. So I actually brushed some acrylic on this one. And I'm not too thrilled on the finish that it's going to be leaving on the bottom. Because I'm afraid since the epoxy is translucent that it'll just show through. So the whole reasoning from doing this test is whenever I showed the customer the pigment, even though it's flag red and a bright red, he was worried about it being kind of a pink color. So I believe what I'm going to do is I'm going to utilize some of this extra, and I'm going to add a drop or 2 of acrylic red in with the pigment on one of them to see if that will add a little extra pop to the red and make it more of a, just like better words, a brighter red, to see if that would be more satisfactory. And also, I've never seen anybody mix the acrylic with the pigment. So, science. Let's find out. So, as you can see, our test didn't go exactly as planned, but I did learn some valuable information on mixing pigment in epoxy. Alright guys, so as you can see, took a little bit of journey to get to where we wanted, but we got the look that we wanted to achieve. Everything was primered with 2 coats primer, sanded down 120 to get the real high spots out. Then took another 2 coats of primer and then blocked it down with a long block to get that nice smooth surface with 220. Then we took one light dusting of the satin white and then 2 heavy wet coats. Now the trick to it is you've got to lay it on like how you want it to look. It's got to be slick. It's got to be heavy. You got to watch around the edges. I might do a video on that later on, but the best resource, hands down, Dave's 3D Woodwork on Instagram. Guy does top notch stuff. I mean, it's incredible. And he's got so much how to do this and how to do that and how to achieve this look on there. I mean, I just be copying what he says, except for a couple of other little things. But once we got that done, we took mixed up the epoxy correctly, as you can see, and the experiment didn't really go exactly how we wanted it to. But as we learned, I picked up a couple of tricks as I did some research. So, to me, the best tip I can give you is whenever you're mixing your color and you want that solid color to come through and not show any of the background, whenever you're mixing your paint, take and mix it to where you can barely see the color of the mixing stick come through. That's probably the biggest tip I can give you when it comes to mixing the color of epoxy. Once I figured that out and I actually seen it in another video on a group, it wasn't nothing I found on YouTube or anything like that. It was these private groups, which is another thing. Use a private group as a resource because these guys are everyday Joes just going out there giving you tips and tricks along the way, just like what I'm doing. I mean, look here. Anyways, so once we did that, tried to use plastic cups to aid in pouring. Didn't really work. It was hard to get into the little nick areas. Luckily, I had went and bought some syringes because I had seen people use them to get like the little fine details. Well, to be completely honest, that's what we used to do the whole pour because it was so much more controlled. And once you have that fine control, you can, kind of manipulate the epoxy to flow into the crevices like you want it to. But luckily, we had a good design, a good open design that we could really get up into the corners real tight, and that helped out a ton. But the next tip I could give you is to make sure that your piece is level because that's going to help for an even flow across and when it starts to set up. So by doing that, by taking the extra, minute, you're actually just setting yourself up for success. So if you learned anything from this video, drop down a comment. If you got a tip to help with anything, drop it down below. If you learned anything, give it a like, subscribe. We're going to have more stuff coming later on. So I hope y'all enjoy. Have a blessed week.